dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Yeah, ride around the field with a stick all black. Try with a stroke, but we with all that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Paid $1 million and I can't go back. Got a lot of jewelry on me, man, you can't hold that. So ask him better, tell him that I ain't so crack. Know your money long when your people can't afford that. I'm ballin', yeah. My mama told me that did my calling. I keep that stick, I don't do no brawling. Open out the doors and let them all in here. Yeah, they all in here. Big dog, they come out the game for me. Big dog, heavy petty, don't break my wrist off.
Hello and welcome to the Fan Zone on RugbyPass. My name is Jeff Neville and I'm joined by Geraint Davies today to analyse the Wales versus Ireland game and also to discuss and expand on your comments on the game. Geraint, how are you getting on? How are you feeling after that?
Oh, my anxiety levels are pretty high right now, Jeff. To be honest, that was quite a finish to a game. I mean, my heart rate's going to be high for quite a while after that one. What a finish! What a finish! Gareth Davies' kick.
Why is he kicking that ball?
That was something, wasn't it? I mean, I'm slightly confused as to why he, with 28 seconds left on the clock, he kicked the ball through. He almost found himself in more space than he anticipated. I think the scrum was really clean, nice ball from Faletau. Maybe felt that there was an opportunity for a score, but then the no real chase. Yeah,
but all he needed two more phases, and the game's done. Wales win, you know, and I know they still won, but I mean, geez, I mean, there must be Welsh fans all over the country having a heart attack there, is there?
I think so. I think Pivac would be definitely questioning that one after the game, but you know, the game as a whole, I thought really refreshing for both teams. I mean, obviously as a Welshman, pretty pleased with just a win, but from both teams, I thought there was significantly different rugby being played by both teams than we've seen, particularly in the autumn. I thought it was like the clouds had opened with some of the kind of difference in the quality of rugby that we saw. Some comments coming in straight away, yeah, Jeff. So I think a couple of them. I suppose we'd question whether that Finn Russell moment from yesterday with the drop goal is very similar to the Gareth Davies moment in terms of maybe the control of just those last few minutes.
Yeah, game management at the end, isn't it? And I know with Russell yesterday when I was watching it, the drop goal for me was the correct decision, but it just wasn't managed properly, you know. And if Scotland had taken their time, managed it properly, got in a good position, struck it 8-point game, makes it much better, you know. But to me, it was reminiscent of what Davies did. Maybe the kick through was the right option at when the clock is in the red, but when there's still time to come back, I don't know. It was probably just poor management, and I don't know. Maybe Davies misread the clock. You never know, you know. Only he can answer that question, I suppose. But you know, can't really talk much about Finn Russell based on the Welsh game. But as you said there a minute ago, it was you're extremely happy with the win, and I know Ireland lost, but I can say strongly, given the circumstances, a red card after 13 minutes, losing James Ryan after 23. Yeah, absolutely hell of a game from Ireland.
Yeah,
hell of an
let's pick up on that red, Jeff. I think that's probably worth some discussion. Obviously, 13 minutes gone on the clock at that point. It was relatively, obviously Wales are up by 6 points, but Ireland definitely just building a little bit of momentum. They actually seemed to be better. I thought they had more control after that moment. Whether Wales took their foot off the gas or not, I don't know. Kind of interesting kick stats in the first half. So Ireland have put through 4 grubber kicks in the first half to Wales' 0. So just a little bit of change to the kind of the intent of playing with, and then kicks to contest. Both teams kicked from their own 22 and 11 occasions in the first half. So actually relatively similar in some of the metrics. But territory at key moments, I thought Ireland were better after the red card. So your thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah, well, I don't think we can argue about the red card, can we? Like, it was a pretty clear-cut red card, and it was kind of strange language initially from Barnes, you know, when he said a chicken wing action. That kind of made me laugh a little bit, but it was no laughing matter, I'm afraid. The fact he came from distance, wasn't in control, high level of danger. You know, now in fairness, you know, Francis took it so well. Like I couldn't believe how well he took it. He just kind of looked at Barnes, made a motion. Barnes initially said, no, it's fine, play on. TMO got involved, red card, you know, and in the end it was a it was the right call. But yeah, you can't argue with it. First red card, I think, for Ireland in the Six Nations, which which was a mad statistic, but I felt Ireland did really well considering. Just on the kicking, what made me laugh, and I know there's a comment there, but Ireland did very well with 14 men. They did indeed. But just on the kicking that you mentioned, what struck me as funny was I was looking at Murray's box kicks and, well, Ireland's box kicks as a whole. And I know Gibson Park kicked one at the end, but, there was 10 box kicks in total from Ireland. And it's when Ireland stopped box kicking at 54 minutes that they actually ended up going back behind. And Eddie Jones says a lot, that it's the team that kicks the most that end up winning the game. And there you go. And if Ireland box kicked 10 times, I can guarantee Wales did twice as many. They didn't stop.
Yeah. I wouldn't believe that's that too much, Jeff. I would take that stat with a pinch of salt. To be honest, it's a good headline.
Sorry. Go on. No, you're all good.
Just pick up a couple of comments, Jeff. So Johnny Williams should have been red carded for the tackle he put out. That's an interesting one. So potentially. A high, to me, it looked, obviously I'm going to carry a little bit of better Welsh bias, I suppose, but looking at it from as much of an objective standpoint as possible, looks like he's gone chest to shoulder, and then kind of it's head to head, and obviously head to head doesn't fall into the framework. So they would have reviewed that one upstairs and would have seen the kind of the chest contact and the shoulder contact, which is legal. The head to head aspect is maybe unfortunate. What's your thought on that?
I think the still, maybe if we can get one up in a minute, will probably make it look worse. It certainly looked head to head, as you said, but I didn't actually see the replay of that tackle. Was it a card? Looking at the framework and everything like that, you still can't touch the head. And I think anytime you're flirting in and around that area, regardless, I think of how it happens, you're going to be looking at trouble. I was kind of surprised it wasn't reviewed. I was looking on Twitter at the time, and a lot of people were talking about it there, but surprising maybe it wasn't reviewed, but that's just, that's international rugby. It's such fine margins of a game. We'll probably talk about the end of the game and, how Wales won the game was an incredibly fine margin, but sure, we'll get to that in a little while. There's your man, Lewis Hammett, scoring an unbelievable fine.
What a finish. It was interesting to pick up on some of the kind of differences for both teams in attack. I thought Wales played a lot more off the second and third receiver. I was really interested in the way that Lee Halfpenny played a completely different role to what he's played for Wales, even in the Gatland era. I thought you saw him stand up as more of a pivot, and then interesting watching Bigger playing one side of the pitch and Halfpenny on the other, which just allowed some of those tight forwards. So seeing Alwyn Jones, seeing Tipperick then being able to move the ball and use then Halfpenny to be able to pivot the play either way, which I think in the end actually led to that Lewis Hammett try, a little bit of space on the outside, which kind of under the old attack system probably wouldn't have been there. Another question on that one. So how important do you think Halfpenny is becoming to the Welsh attack? Seemed to offer a second playmaker. Yeah, I agree completely. Obviously, his kick in is second to none. Although obviously he missed one, which meant that Ireland still maintained the lead after the score. But yeah, incredible player, and just really nice to see him with the ball in hand. Go on.
I think having that second playmaker, like you said, and especially if you've quick ball, you're going to put any defence under pressure. And just that try and Rhys Salmon, I mean, we talk about a game of inches and we talk about the top level being such fine margins. That try came as a result of Ireland stole the line out in the 56th minute from Wales, and Earls kicks it out on the full, comes back for a Welsh line out, they throw it to the front, penalty from the Welsh maul. Wales win that line out again, they spread it wide due to Halfpenny being an extra playmaker, and there's a try in the corner, so I mean, when you talk about the fine margins and Halfpenny being that playmaker, I mean, it's huge, Tipperick, definitely. Tackle found himself lagging in midfield a few times. Can he still compete at this level? I think Justin Tipperick would probably make any world team. I think that's fair to say. Any international team. He's so good.
I think he's outstanding. I think actually one of the roles he played today. Obviously he's missed tackles, but he's made 20 plus tackles as well, in addition to the maybe one or two that he's missed. I thought one of the important roles he played was as almost like a protection for Lewis Hammett, whether that was by design or by accident. I'm not certain, but I thought he covered the space inside Hammett really, really well. And that was one of probably half a dozen or so real tactical changes that I saw from the Welsh attack. Another question on Sexton. Should Sexton retire now that he lasts 60 minutes per game and then costs Ireland early? I think obviously that he's a kind of player that his decision making and his control of the game is pretty outstanding. Potentially Ireland could be looking to the future. Obviously Burns has come on and has done a decent job in that last kind of 15 or so minutes. Interesting as a player when you're being forced into an attacking situation versus being a tactical change. And I suppose for confidence, those players you'd maybe want to be looking at them as a tactical change. I mean, Sexton's a massive asset for any international team, and he's controlled possession pretty well as well.
There was a couple of up and unders from Sexton that weren't chased well, but that's not Sexton's fault, I don't feel. But there was a period in around 21 to 23 minutes where Sexton just quarterbacked the game really well. He just pulled the right strings, he put players in the right places, and you could see the team, if you go back and watch it, the team just turned it up a notch, and CJ was really good during all that as well. But that was pivotal to Sexton, and all he was doing, he had everybody lined up 2 plays in advance. Fellas knew exactly what they were doing. There was 11, 12 phases there where Ireland were excellent, and that was down to Sexton. And I think to say Sexton's finished because he only lasted 60 minutes, like you said, it was an enforced change, and he was going really, really well up to that point. Like when people say Sexton's finished, get him off. I mean, he's the one starting against Wales. He's clearly not, and the international coaching team know more than we do, sitting at home watching, and they're around him in camp too. So, I mean, there's another comment there saying that Hugo Keenan was immense. I thought Hugo Keenan was unbelievable till he came off. He did really, really well. He looked for touches, worked a lot off the ball. And that off the ball, I think, is what separates him from a lot of other players. He's in the right places and he's doing the right work, but he's in the right places because when the camera's not on him, he's moved in order to get there. And, he's just such a quality player. He's doing so well for Leinster over the last season as well. And, he's had how many chances? 4 or 5 caps for Ireland now. And, he's done really well in every last one of them, and including what was probably, definitely his toughest one today, being 14 for 70 or 67 minutes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think some of the names being thrown in the chat. Henshaw, I mean, he was outstanding. I actually, when I taken my notes during the game, when I was thinking about the key pivotal moments, Henshaw going off, I thought was a huge moment. His presence in defence, you can't understate that. I thought his presence and his manner in defence was outstanding. In addition to his ability to get over the game line. I mean, for a guy who gets the ball relatively flat, he gets incredible leg drive, gets up to pace really quickly. So I was incredibly impressed with him. Does Liam Williams get into full strength Wales side if Halfpenny is so integral? Really good question. For me, I suppose I carry an amount of bias on some of these things. I personally, Halfpenny for me is the best fullback in Wales, and that's probably not a popular opinion. Liam Williams has been incredible. For me, Halfpenny at 15 is absolutely the choice. I mean, under the high ball, and then you can see what he can do when he's given the opportunity. I mean, you could judge it based on some of the tactical bits from the coaching decisions, but now he's given opportunity. Well, we see a difference in his play.
I think with Halfpenny as well, you have that kicking option for goal. And that's another reason that I'm sure Ireland box kicked anywhere inside their own half was just in order not to concede a penalty, that to give Halfpenny a shot, and that's something that Williams doesn't have. But certainly, I mean, you have lads who missed because they broke the bubble, they missed out in this weekend, and would maybe Lewis Rees-Hammett have started instead of that, and then you have Williams. It's a great headache to have, and it offers a different angle for coaches, and gives them different ideas of how they want to play. But certainly I really enjoyed Halfpenny. Well, I'd rather he didn't do it today, but I really enjoyed watching Halfpenny in that second playmaker role today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think it completely changed the Welsh attack. It'd be interesting going back through it and just seeing the balance of where the players are working from set piece. Set piece is something we probably should pick up in a moment. But I thought the balance of those players, Alan Wynne-Jones getting into ball carrying positions, which we saw back in the autumn and in the last Six Nations, back trying to put him into more of those centralised positions. We saw today him being supported, and what a difference that made, just having players around him. I think we've got some decent comments coming through here. So Peter O'Mahony, Earls, Burns should be dropped from the squad. Those are massive shouts. I mean,
big hot takes there, aren't they?
They are fairly hot. There's some steam coming off those ones. I think with players like Peter O'Mahony, I mean, it was definitely a red card. And I think Leonardo, your comment's fair in terms of the overall influence of that red card. I mean, it was huge, wasn't it? I think looking on the positive side of it, if you take a positive slant, and there was a comment earlier mentioning the Ireland in a position where they've actually pushed Wales right to the brink with 14 men. And remember, lots of those were with 7 in the scrum, and we can't overstate that. On Welsh possession, Ireland were defending with 7 in the scrum. Not a single penalty against Ireland at scrum time. And that's something as a pack, you've got to take a huge amount of confidence from that.
I thought Porter and Healy in the scrum were absolutely unbelievable. And like you said, not a scrum penalty given. 7 men, like there was a couple of scrums we were on top with 7 men, and Henshaw came in for 1 or 2 on the flank, and that's just adding strings to his bow. But, there's another comment there saying Tyke Byrne was outstanding. Lineout functioned really well without James Ryan. Do I see Paul O'Connell's influence on it? And to be honest, I think it's too soon to say if we've seen Paul O'Connell's influence on it. But when we're looking at Ireland's lineout, it was absolutely unbelievable. And if you break it down into 420s, the 4 quarters, they had 4 defensive lineouts in the first 20, stole 2. They had 2 defensive lineouts in the second quarter, stole 1. They stole 1 in the third as well. Having a defensive lineout where you can almost take away a team set piece through just good management, good hinge work, good communication. I think so far all O'Connell would have done is taken what's already there and just tweaked it and put little things on it. I don't think you can instill a full line-out system within 2 weeks or whatever, week, however long he's there, but he'll certainly be happy with how it went today. And Tyke Byrne overall, in the overall game, be it in his turnovers, carries, line-out function, and I thought he was immense as well. He was up there with Keenan and Porter on my notes and Henshaw. So, Tyke Byrne absolutely making the most of that start that he was given today.
Yeah, outstanding. I thought he was quality throughout. I thought his contact area in particular, I mean, it's obviously a massive part of his role, but I thought his contact area was just next level. I thought tackle itself, but then it's just a pain. He gets in the way, real pain to clear. On some of those turnover penalties, I mean, there was a decent challenge at the ruck area, which I think is essentially what kept Ireland in it in that first half. He was generally present, not necessarily on the ball, but he was a player that was just tough to move, which obviously was positive from Ireland perspective.
There's a conversation Byrne should start at 6 if he's good enough in the loose, and that's a great call because especially with O'Mahony getting that red, we don't know what's going to happen. Henderson, I thought, was unbelievable when he came on. So if Byrne starts at 6, Henderson and Ryan, if Ryan is fit, obviously, but that's obviously going to impact if Byrne starts at 6. But he had a great game. O'Mahony probably see a ban for that entry, I'd say. And that's going to open up a space for 6, I imagine. So if Ryan is fit, Byrne is fit, and if Henderson is fit, we'll probably see Byrne at 6, perhaps, if not Ruddock. Ruddock probably unlucky to miss out this weekend as well, But, it's a great option to have. That back row is pretty stacked. So it's, if Byrne's a great line-out option to have, though, if you have the 2 boys in second row as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Obviously, got Connors. We imagine maybe a more flanker-based back row, going a couple of 7s on the field, which would change the balance of that squad a bit. Just some of the other thoughts. I thought when the score was a 6-all, Ireland restart long. Or Wales rather restart long, and then Lowe's kick from centre field. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion about Lowe being back into the team. One incredible kick from centre field, kicks long. Wales have a line out just around the 22, lose the line out, and then a moment later they got Henshaw again, taking them towards the line. Nice offload to Van der Fleer, takes them right up to the edge. And the words that start with just a massive moment with Lowe's kick in the first instance. And when we're thinking about these players and what they offer, sometimes only a single moment is all that you need. That could be the one thing that you do in a 60-minute period, and it can make a difference of win or lose. And I thought that moment that kept them in the game and obviously backed up with a lineup as well. And there's lots of good comments coming through regarding those type of things as well. So we need to think towards Rugby World Cup in Ireland. So James Byrne comment, and there's a few come through along the similar kind of line. The squad needs to adapt and needs to evolve. Your thoughts there, Jeff?
I think in terms of looking towards the next World Cup and having an evolving team and everything like that, perhaps it's still a bit too early. I think you look to build it bit by bit, and it's the same kind of looking towards maybe the Lions tour next year and stuff like that. I think. Or this year, I should say, if it goes ahead, it's still a bit too early. There's a lot of rugby to be played. There's 4 Six Nations games left. And, a guy who's a shoo-in, like for me, Robbie Henshaw is probably a shoo-in for that tour. James Ryan's obviously a shoo-in for that tour as well, I think, for everybody. But, I mean, if all it takes is a bad tackle, or all it takes is one moment in a game, and that's it. Your tour's over, and it doesn't go ahead. So I think same building towards a Rugby World Cup. We're still 2 years out. Well, way over 2 years out. And if you're saying, okay, we should be getting a new 10 in, or we should get a new 9 in, or whatever. Yeah, perhaps Sexton won't make the next World Cup, but at the same time, yeah, be blooding players and everything like that. But I think if you're saying, okay, we need to start Burns because he's going to be starting in the next World Cup, like every player is one tackle away from not making a World Cup or even not making next week's game. So, I mean, looking towards the future is one thing, but actually realistically doing it bit by bit, I think, is another plan, But just on, just as you said there a minute ago, just that little spark, and there was a comment there a second ago saying Wales need more excitement. I thought the fact that Josh Navidi flicked that ball up for George North's try within a second to see in the space was absolutely fantastic. And just to recognise that the blind side was on and have the skill set in order to do it after playing, I think 20 odd minutes of rugby and I don't know how long, was absolutely phenomenal from Navidi and was probably the spark of the game for me. Sadly, even from an Irish perspective, that was an unbelievable play from what is an unbelievable player coming back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think what a play to bring on. I mean, just pick up on Lydiate. I mean, what a return for a player, a guy who's been a massive servant of Welsh rugby, hugely deserving of his position. I was excited to see him, and then obviously goes off incredibly unlucky. It looks pretty nasty. But then having Navidi to come on, I mean, what a replacement! Somebody who's a genuine starter coming on as a replacement. That's incredible in your back row. I suppose that leads us on a little bit to potential Lions selection. We haven't talked about the Lions yet. It was muted a little bit in commentary. And lots of these players that we're talking about World Cup, well, we've got the Lions potentially first. Certain players really putting their hand up. I thought Henshaw as a player has really put his hand up as somebody that is going to be there. I mean, it's interesting with Stander. Obviously the back row is a huge area. Stander's a player. Where would you rate him in that kind of 8 battle at the minute, Jeff?
CJ, I think, is he's up there. I mean, you have Billy Vunipola as well, and he carries his own gravitational pull, and he's a big bruiser, and he's able to get over the line. But I also think, and it's one from yesterday's game, I think Hamish Watson could be a right bowler for line selection as well. He's just unbelievable. He's in great form as well for club. I thought he was excellent yesterday. And in terms of back rows, Mark Wilson as well for England. Maybe he wasn't excellent yesterday, but overall he's just a real tough bugger, and I think he'll be putting his hand up as well. In terms of lines, I'm not a big fan of potential 15s because it's so subjective. You're going to have someone just jump in and say, well, you're wrong, you're clearly wrong, and that's fine. It is subjective, but like you said, I think Henshaw, and I said it earlier as well, Henshaw for me is distribution at 12, the ability to play 13. He's a real physical player. That's what you want against South Africa as well. I thought he was unbelievable today. But question for you, just looking ahead to next week, and I know you've Scotland, they'll be buoyed by a big win against England last week. What are you thinking selection-wise? Would you go same again? Are you bringing in new players, or what are you looking at?
Interesting. Lots of comments coming through about North of 13, and he was a big question mark in the first instance. I actually thought with North being a 13, and we don't say this quite often in coaching, that it actually only matters for the first phase. And what it did do, because of the adaptations Wales have made to that attack, it just enabled him to get on the ball and way in better positions. While some of the kind of patterns weren't quite as slick as they might have been. I was a massive fan of a 13 because of the way the Wales played, the way that they attacked, the way that they split the field and used those tight forwards to move the ball a little, and actually got some go forwards in the first instance. So I would stick with him there. Navidi started in the back row. The Falatau was solid today. I'd be keeping him there, and then I'd be keeping Tiprick. So I think that back row, the finish, I'd be staying there. I think that's the way to go. I think we've probably got time for one last thought from you, Jeff, before we wrap up.
Yeah, I think looking towards Scotland, I think Navidi will probably start if Lydiate, I don't know if he'll be back in time. I'm not, but I think Navidi, a fit Navidi for me would start at 7 for Wales, or at 6 or 8. Sorry, because I know you've Tipperick as well. He'd definitely start for Wales. But looking ahead to France next week, I think coming off the back off that, I do think even though it's a loss, Ireland will be quite buoyed by the performance they put in. I think they'll know that even with 14 men, that they can still put in a big shift. Today was massive. And I don't think anybody, I think anybody who's saying that Ireland were terrible today or deserved to lose today didn't watch the game, to be honest, because, you know, the effort they put in for nearly 70 minutes after losing probably one of their talisman was massive, you know, and that's a mountain I think I'm willing to die on. But looking ahead to France, I think, you know, France yesterday destroyed Italy. Looked like they didn't get out of third, fourth gear. They were just purring. You have Dupont with 4 assists and a try in under an hour. I mean, you obviously have to stop him, but, you know, that's it really, you know. And France for the Grand Slam, last comment there. Hard to deny you there, Mr. Clean, but shall we see. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up, folks. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and who interacted throughout the comments. I'll be back after Ireland's game next week versus France, and Grant will be back after the Wales game versus Scotland. If you'd like to hear more from us, you can find us both on Twitter, Geraint at Davies GDD, and myself at the Loosehead. Thanks again. Enjoy next week's games and good luck.
Cheers, Jeff.
See you. Thanks, Grant.